In America, we have it that you're like supposed to pick a line and hold it. I don't know why we think it like makes you a weak waffler if you change your mind, but that doesn't make any logical sense when applied to life, because in life, the more experience and wisdom you have, the more your perspective evolves and the more your choices are going to change. We have this thing like you're never supposed to regret anything. And I gotta tell you, I really disagree with that. As someone who knows a few things about regret and about making bad decisions, I have this example that just happened. My girlfriend came out to visit Tanya, amazing woman, and we met because she married one of my besties, Brad Marks, and God, I loved him. And we came up in the South Florida halfway house community together, him and I. It's glamorous, so glamorous. But he had a car. I still remember his car. He had this like bucking bronco sticker on the bumper. It was like a black sticker. I still remember it because, you know, those times when you're like a halfway house scrub, nobody has to be there for you. Nobody has to be nice to you. You're kind of like the urchins, like the bottom scrapers of the world, the forgotten ones, the ones who had potential and kind of got flushed out. And you're kind of there fighting for your life, but it's just wild. It's a wild, strange thing. And anyway, he was very nice to me and he would pick me up and give me rides. I did not have a car and I did not have a license. And he would take me to meetings. We both got into this little bit more intense kind of AA. And he kind of became like this brother I never had, you know? He made me laugh. It's some of the darkest, loneliest times of my life where you don't have any guarantees that you're going to get well. And in the South Florida recovery community, a lot of people don't make it. In fact, I still remember when my halfway house RA, they kind of call them, kind of idea is, I still remember her looking at me and saying, Emily, you got to be willing to step over the bodies. I've never forgotten that because it was figurative, but it was also literal. Not a lot of us made it out of there for how many of us came through. And the people coming in there were scarred, and many of them gained more. And anyway, we came up through that together and we got well and we started to have lives, and then we had hiccups, and he started to spin out, and he passed away 8 years ago now, 2016. The summer I lost everything. I married a mirage. Lost my best friend, died. I left my footwear career and had stepped into something else. I thought it was all these new starts. I got married. I started this new job. All these new things staffed gratitude. And it was like, I thought I was starting all these new things, and everything, it was like a house of cards, just collapsed on top of the massive grief from losing my friend and my marriage and my stepson and my job. But when Brad passed, someone told me something was on his Facebook page, and I'm like, I missed that. And I'm not on Facebook like that now, but I was on it a lot then. And I went to go look at it, and he had unfriended me on Facebook. One of my best friends, before he died. Which means he was pretty pissed at me. Carrie was so down and out. And I was such a crappy friend, I didn't even know he'd unfriended me on Facebook. Talk about a regret. But that's the thing. See, she came last week. And even though I might not have been there for him before he passed, sometimes I feel like because he passed, he was more with me. Maybe he helped protect me that next year too, because it was such a dark time and I was so alone in LA and Portland. I couldn't cope, and I somehow had this sense like he helped save me, and so many of us that came through there, people we loved became a statistic. I think it's so important to remember that they are also part of our statistic. Like, I wouldn't have made it without him. Even to that point, like, Brad really saved me in many ways. And anyway, she came to visit, and we were driving in the car at one point. I could just feel him in the backseat. And he was so happy we were all together. But he was also sad, or maybe that's just my interpretation, like a wanting to have been there with us in the flesh. Like, I missed this, because we don't know if we're going to end up with a normal life when you're down there, and here I have a relatively normal life. And he's dead for 8 years. And it's been a journey. But I realized in that moment that while I may regret the way it ended with him, I wasn't there for him, I didn't know he was mad, and it didn't end our relationship. I still felt very close to him. He still knows how much he mattered to me. Even if I wasn't present to at that time, I had a lot going on he wasn't aware of, and here I'm getting there. I now am prepared to do relationship differently. That's why you need regret. Living to avoid regret causes you to live to avoid something that you need in order to know who you really are and why you make the decisions you do. When we make decisions from fear of regret, there's a fear, there's an anxiousness, and there's a lack of sincerity because it's really about the fear. When we've regretted a decision and we make a new one based on the learning and healing, not the anger or rage or unresolved regret, that's different. But for those of us that do our work well on regret, the healing, the core that remains of the regret, once the healing has been done, the wisdom, that nugget, that's what begins to drive the decisions in the future, like how I'm going to show up for friends, how I'm going to check on people, how I know how to be in relationship with them in ways leading up to events like that can potentially create different possibilities. You can't save people, I know that. But that was an important lesson for me. Yes, it caused me to also not have friends for probably the last 8 years because I wasn't that good at it. And all the things with that. But now I've done my work and I've done my journey and I've done the and I'm prepared to be different now because of Brad, because of that regret. And I have others. That's just an example. And we all have them. Either we have the regrets or we have the regrets of living to avoid them. And I'll tell you right now, it's much better to have the regret, to have lived it and gone for it and tried or forgotten or whatever, to have lived without the fear of regret. It's better to regret than live with the fear of it, because you work it out and it makes you a better person when you screw up and have to acknowledge it and own it and work it out. Regret is a really good thing when we create a space for other people to own it. Sometimes I think that's what Trump is, this giant projection of everyone unwilling to admit all the mistakes they've made, and all these older people really sad about how they're leaving the world not in a better place than they started. That's okay though. We've got